Hi, welcome to the show. Today, I have Erika Marksbury, the senior pastor at First Baptist Church. And we're here to meet her and meet all the programs that go on there at First Baptist. I know you've probably heard a lot about it. You probably want to hear more. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, First Baptist has quite a history. And here you are, the latest chapter. I'll call it that. How's that? But tell us a little bit, maybe where'd you come from? How did you come to McMinnville?
I came from suburbs of Kansas City last September. My husband and our boys and I moved out here. We heard about the church and kind of fell in love with it. We knew that they were searching for a pastor, and I had been pastoring in Kansas City, and this seemed like a good fit from the first moment we heard about it. And came to town, and as we were being given tours, people kept saying, "We just hope you'll fall in love with McMinnville," and that was really easy to do. So.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about the church, but I also want to talk a little bit more about, I think people are often curious, when and how does one decide to become a minister, a pastor? How about you?
I think for me it was sort of an ongoing process of deciding. I grew up in a church where the people who raised me and taught me were really encouraging and really just loved me well, and for all of us kind of teenagers, they let us know that there was a place for us and that we were valued, and that was really important to me growing up. And then I taught for 7 years before I worked in a church. I taught at a small liberal arts college in Kansas, and I really love that work too. And I think the work of teaching and pastoring are pretty connected. They both seem to me to be about being with people and their questions, and working with kind of the biggest ideas out there, the ideas that really matter to you, and how you're going to let those ideas shape your life. I think that's what teaching was about for me, and that's also what being in a church and being with a congregation is about. So I guess the call to ministry sort of evolved. It's always maybe been the same call, just in these different settings. But I'm happy that it's brought me here now.
So here you are in McMinnville. You've resettled, and you've come to the First Baptist Church. Now we have a homeless problem here in town, and that was kind of on your doorstep when you got here. And how did you receive that, and what's happened since you've gotten here, and what might we see? What are you thinking about for the future there?
Yeah, when I was first learning about the church, churches fill out a kind of a profile to let you know who they are and what their commitments are. And this church's profile said that their congregation consisted of college professors and of other professionals, and of homeless people that they called the Courtyard Congregation. And I thought, what an interesting community to bring all of those people together. And I've learned since being here that it's not always equal numbers of all those people at every gathering, but that at that site of First Baptist, people from all different backgrounds gather to worship and to eat together and to serve together and to work together. And it's not an easy community. There are definitely kinks to work out, and there are ways that we're still trying to figure out how we can show hospitality, how we can be gracious to people in the neighborhood and to people in the courtyard, and how we can respect everyone kind of in the area and their needs. We know that we can't meet all the needs, and that we can't solve every problem that ends up kind of nearby, but we want to do our best to listen to people and to figure out how we can serve. I would say at First Baptist, one of the commitments that people try and live their faith out into is how does our faith enable us to serve the whole community how does it enable us to reach out and to create relationships across these boundaries? How does it help us to see all people as people? How does it help us to treat all people with dignity? And there are always ways to practice that where we are. So
I see why you're a pastor. That was a beautiful sermon. I just am inspired by that. The First Baptist does a lot of other work, outreach. You have a medical facility there. How does that work?
The free medical clinic operates on the first and third Saturdays out of the top floor of our building, and they, I would say First Baptist, some of the work that happens there is not sort of run by the church, but is hosted by the church, and the free medical clinic is one of those. We have people from the congregation who volunteer there and who help make that happen, and we're really happy to be able to offer that space. And people come in with the needs that they have, and they're able to be seen usually that same morning. And I know that for many people, it's their first line of care, their first stop, and so
it's what they have.
Yeah,
it's all they have.
Yeah, we're really grateful that that the healthcare professionals will offer their time in that way. I think it's meeting a lot of need.
I've been in the building a number of times for different. Well, you're very generous to Gallery Theater. There's tryouts there. When they have something else going on at the theater, you open the doors, and rehearsals and auditions have taken place there in the past. And then more recently, I've been there to greeters. The Chamber, McMinnville Area Chamber of Commerce had a greeters there, and the host was a family place. So we learned about a family place, which is a whole other show, which I've done one of, and I'd like to do another because it's really doing well.
Yeah.
But it's right there in First Baptist, and you've made available classrooms and space and office, and tell us about that, how that works together.
Yeah, a family place is a subset of Lutheran Community Services Northwest, and they live on the bottom floor of our building. They also have a relief nursery on the main floor. And we've hosted the relief nursery for 3 years, and just last fall, the rest of a family place's offices moved in downstairs. So it's nice that the nursery and the other staff people can all be in the same building now. And they rent from us, and we think it's a really good relationship just because we believe so strongly in the work that they're doing to strengthen families and provide resources and help keep people together. So we celebrate the work that a family place does, and are so happy that they're in McMinnville and helping. We were recently able to connect some people from the courtyard to the services that a family place provides, and watching their director, Kara Copeland, do her work, just sort of bring someone into the program and talk her through what was available. It's not religiously affiliated, but it's such a ministry that happens out of their offices that lets people know about like really tangible ways that their needs can be met, but also just that they are not alone. That parenting, especially for people who are new to it can be so daunting, and a family place is really here to say, like, we support you, we have your back, we will walk with you through this.
Those are things that I think were in place before you got here. And so you've had it's a great organization.
Yeah.
But you've brought something around storytelling. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the church is on its way to its 150th year. We'll be 150 years old May 11th of 2017. And so we've been thinking about how we're going to celebrate that. And we recently received a grant from the Calvin Institute for Creative Worship, which is funded by Eli Lilly. And we're going to be able to spend a year telling stories. So like digging through the archives of the church and pulling up old newsletters and old sermons and old songs and figuring out. We were reading old minutes from the board meeting the other day, and in the late 1890s, there's a woman who comes in to the board meeting to confess that she went to a dance. And they made it clear in the board notes that she did not dance, but she had attended. And so they had tabled that discussion, but they were trying to figure out, like, what do we do with it? So, like, finding old stories like that, like, oh, the church that used to be a conversation at the church. What do we do with women who go to dances? So we're finding old stories like that, but also celebrating those, and then also encouraging our current congregation. Like, what are your stories? Where are the places that you have met God, or what are the places that you've seen love at work? What's been a miracle in your life, or how have you helped make peace happen?
Oh, wow.
And encouraging people that those are all stories that help make the church what it is, and make the faith what it is. And so we're hoping to spend a year learning to tell those stories and learning to listen to them from each other, and celebrating what we can learn from each other through those stories.
Well,
So,
I want to hear the stories.
yeah, we're bringing in some authors to help us learn how to tell stories, and and we really want the community to come out and hear those authors and to celebrate with us. So
Now you have some heritage to draw on. You have Ken Harrop is available to tell some stories
Yes.
and give some history. And then he doesn't quite go back to the 1890s, but Bernie Turner
Yes.
is still available to tell a lot of stories about some big changes that took place. So I imagine he'll be part of that research.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to them being a part of it. Ken, I hear, is a consummate storyteller.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, people remember both of them and the work they did really fondly. So it'll be a great year to have them back, have their presence here.
Well, Angela, I know you have to go to a meeting now about the grant that you got
Yes.
to do the storytelling project.
Yeah.
So before you go, is there just something you'd like to leave us with? What's in your heart right now? What's next Sunday's sermon on? What's alive for you?
We're talking about beauty right now. For the summer, we're actually talking about beauty as a congregation, and so we're spending some time just dwelling in it as it is all around us. I mean, I've been so awestruck, I think, since I came here, just at how everywhere I turn, it takes my breath away. So we're spending some time thinking about the ways that beauty gives us life, and that's where our energy is going on Sunday mornings lately. Dostoevsky had one of his characters ask one time, "Can beauty save the world?" And so it's a big question, but we're thinking about if the answer is yes, then how might that be? What might it look like if beauty does that work of making us whole, and so that we might help make the world whole again. That's where we are right now at First Baptist.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
For me too.
Well, thanks for joining us, and come back for another show. Our next show is Ray Reimer. He's going to come and tell us about his experience in the McMinnville Area Chamber of Commerce program, where people learn about the community, and he's going to tell us what he's learned in that program. So come back for another great show.